I love my job. Why? Because I'm able to play with bikes, e-bikes in particular. And in the last 2 months, I've been able to secretly ride what has become my favorite e-mountain bike of all time. Of all time. And with these two devices, the yin and the yang, it is even better for a whole lot more people.
This is more than a game, you better get ready. Shock the world! Shock the world! This is more than a game. You better get ready, go ahead, get ready. Shock the world!
Alright, what do we have here? We have the Pivot Shuttle LT releasing today, and it is a special one. LT means long travel, 160 on the rear, 170 in the front, and we have really a stunning package. They came up with the AM, the all mountain, maybe last year, and I actually declared that better than my favorite bike of all time, the Gen 3 Specialized Levo. They were pretty close to each other, but this has the better motor system for sure. And so that one was a little better, but this one, all my dreams have come true. Everything I asked for, you know, more travel, mullet wheels, more configurability, it's all here. So 2 months of riding on this, and it's blown my mind. And this one, they have it at 8600, 10999, which is this model right here. They didn't give me the top spec. And then I believe 12.5 with the Bosch race motor. It is just exemplary. What makes it really good is e-bikes want travel. E-bikes want a lot of power, a lot of battery, and a lot of travel. Because why not? There's very little downside to everything that I mentioned. So if you're gonna have an investment, might as well have your cake and eat it too, right? But you know, this is the second coming of e-bikes where everything has been packaged. You know, the motor is maturing, the battery, and it's all come together right here. So what we have, my favorite part about it, I'm gonna start with it, is just 160, 170 with a lot of shock options, but it feels like a BMX bike, like a dirt jumper to me. It is just amazing. It's just amazing. So what they have, 160 travel, 170, and notice that it just has the Floatex right here. The more expensive one, the team has the X2. But really, I'm like, wow, don't discount it because of this shock. This used to be not good, but now it is really good. In fact, I've been riding it with this coil shock, and I actually prefer this one right here. And then they have the Fox 38 team in front, so 160, 170. You know, you're like, wow, so much travel. I could get rad. And, you know, but they're like, oh, but it's going to be lumbering. It's going to be like a pig, like in the old days. But this one is like an agile little pump track bike. I mean, look at the dropper post. This is my height. And then, boom, I can do some pedaling. So the bike itself is incredible. I actually sized down with their recommendation. It's a small for my 5'7" because it has a 445 reach. And you know, as the bikes get more travel, the wheelbase gets longer. And so I think that was one of the things I enjoyed so much. So much travel, but the wheelbase is not out of control. You know, I'm able to just, you know, change direction on the single track so nicely. I mean, this bike is so good that it's really made a lot of my mid-powered bikes, mid-traveled bikes, just not as relevant because this does everything well. Okay, so that is its core strength, really fundamentally. The next thing is, I don't know if you guys have tried the Bosch motor. They have the Bosch CX, and they have Gen 4 and now Gen 5. This is the race motor, the Gen 4 race motor. And Bosch is already the best, but with the race, it's so good. It's so good. Why is it so good? Because the power is so quick. The resolution on the torque sensor is so good that it's able to give you the power instantly. And the sooner it can give you the power, and we're talking milliseconds, the more natural it feels. And it's a bottomless mug that they have almost, you know, 400% of your power. So it's going to assist you all day long. And then, you know, on the way back, you know, when you're kind of tired and you still have a lot of battery left because it's got a 750, you know, you can put it on race mode and it's just gonna get you home. If you're racing your friends, the race mode is really cool. You want a lot of power. You don't want it to interfere with your workout, but when you need it, you don't want to work too hard for it. You know, you want it on tap, and that's what the race motor does for you. A lot of power on tap when you want it, when you're racing your friends or you're on your way home. But when you don't want it, just put it on eco, and they have so many levels of automatic mode: Tour Plus, Auto, E-MTB. They go from 0 to 100 on their own, so you don't have to keep switching. So really a seamless system, and the 750 watt-hour battery is magic. What it does is it's efficient, it's big, efficient, and so if you translate it to a Levo or a Shimano based bike, it's like having an 800 watt-hour battery. So boom. So, but this review is not just about the Bosch system, but understand that the motor has a lot to do with this. You know, if you had a different motor like a Shimano, this would not be competitive. Like, I asked for more travel. I also asked for Mullet. You know, I'm a big fan of Mullet. I always say Mullet, and they're like, "Oh, you prefer Mullet, huh?" I'm like, "No, Mullet is better for e-bikes. It just handles better. It's just lower to the ground. It's quicker. You have more clearance here, longer dropper post." So they finally, and everyone says, "Oh, we're Mullet compatible. You can put a Mullet wheel," but that doesn't help me because it's not Mullet optimized. This is Mullet optimized. So I think, and that's why the reason why it feels so small and so agile, so quick to the turns and the switchbacks. So definitely love it. And the frame, you know, this is pivot quality. When you talk pivot quality, you're talking everything is tuned to perfection. So you notice how thin this is. When you go to the smaller sizes, this gets even thinner. And you go big, this gets bigger. So this is kind of their tuning rod. And what they're looking for is the same stiffness as their switchblade or their analog, their regular bikes. So they're trying to match that because those are the kind of the gold standard for them. And it really does handle well. They do have 157 boost on the rear, super wide. And I think on e-bikes, that really helps. You know, with all that weight on the rear, man, this thing, you're like off camber, just going full speed, and it's not wallowing on you. It's stiff. It tracks well. I'm gonna get to some weaknesses of this bike as well, so don't you worry. But before we get to that, we talk about the yin and the yang. What do we got going on here? So these are options. So I would say go for the lower spec, so you can have a little more room in the bank account and get the options. One of the options is the Power More 250 right here. $500. This will slide in right here. You take the cage off, put this on, and now you have 250 more. So 250, the 750 is 1,000. 1,000 watt hours of efficient Bosch motor. And what does that give you? That gives you about 3 hours of full turbo race mode, going as hard as you can, as hard as the bike can. And man, I've had routes here that I've dreamed of, and I'm able to do it. You know, in the local trail, I do like 6 laps full turbo in like 2.5 hours. This is the magic sauce right here. And this is for me, a light rider. You know, I'm 150 pounds. If you are a heavy guy, if you haven't been working out a whole lot in the last couple of years, this is your friend. This will allow you to just blow away all your friends on 750 or 800 bikes. This guy, you can also put on your mid-power bikes. So it is, it's good for this bike. It's good for the SX motor. It's good, you know, so all you need is one of these for all your Bosch motors. So very cool little tool. It's called the Power More 250. Finally available. This one is not just a coil shock, and this is available on this model and the team. This is the Fox Neo suspension. This is an automatic suspension. Boom, I rode it a lot. And what does this do? It has these sensors on the brake rotors, so it knows your attitude. It has so much software. And what this does is it locks out your rear suspension when needed. And I tested it 3 years ago, and it really works. And now it works even better. So $1,500 option if you want it with this bike, and it's pretty good. Now let me just say, this is, if you are cross-country racing, these are mandatory because it's going to unlock for you 500 times while you're racing, and you're going to win. over your other self that doesn't have this. So it's more speed. What it does is it gives you coil, but it doesn't make your bike feel like a pig. You know, I don't really ride coil here in Santa Cruz because it makes the bike sluggish, not poppy, hard to jump. This thing, poppy. Basically, you take the chunder, and then there's a berm. It has nice support, and then there's a jump. It just pops nice. So you get kind of the best of both worlds with this guy, and it's all automatic. You could turn it off. Okay, so what else is going on with this bike? So I do have the 10,999 model, and I think that's the sweet spot. You don't want XX1 carbon wheels on your bike unless you have a lot of money. You want it where it counts, and where it counts is, you know, you want the latest stuff, and this has the blending of Shimano and SRAM. SRAM has the best drivetrains. The transmission is right here, nice little pod right here, and the brakes. It could have had a Maven. The Maven's good now, but there's a little bit of unreliability about it, you know, where they kind of pump out. So this is just XT brakes, 4-piston, and XT. Shimano's not good at the big rotors, 220 rotors. So Pivot spec this with Galfer rotors so they can go. Another brave choice that they had is they went with Continental tires. Continental tires is the new discovery these days because they have something called the Grip Total. What they have is enduro casing but soft rubber. So they're really, I think, matching up to the Asagais, and the Minion DHR. They're as good as those, but a lot more durable. You know, a lot more dependable, especially if you are in rocky areas. You know, the Maxxis tires, they just kind of blow off, you know, after a couple months of riding. These will last you a lot longer, very reliable. So let's talk a little bit about geometry. Geometry is very kind of standard. We have on a small 445 reach, so pretty generous on the small. The seat angle is 76.5, and the head angle is 64. And they have a flip chip. The flip chip right now is on high and low. So on the Mullet, they have it set on high. Ooh, and so I can put this on low. Just kind of slacken it out. Okay, because I haven't had a single pedal strike so far. But really, the low is for the 29er. This can handle a full 29er as well, and you correct the geometry with low. So what are the weaknesses of this bike? I would say there are very few, and we would be nitpicking here. One is the display on the Bosch is the 5 light display right here is pretty rudimentary. There's not a lot of information. We should have a screen already. But I have some Bosch bikes like this with a little display here with all your information, a little computer and whatnot. So that's a possibility. The brakes, I would say, are just okay. You know, XT was the king 3-4 years ago, especially with big rotors. But right now, I've tested a lot more brakes that are quite a bit more powerful and kind of lighter action. It would be nice to have, you know, maybe that latest Magura or even that Hayes Dominion, which I love so much. Another weakness is, I'm not sure how long-term this is, but this one is a little bit of an expensive option. $1,500 for this guy, for the Fox Neo. So hopefully maybe a little price break on that. And the final weakness I would say is all of these bikes, by the way, as long as it's Shuttle LT, will have the Bosch race motor. No more restriction, no more hard to get. You can get it if you want. But there's also a little weakness associated with that, which is just a couple of weeks ago, Bosch came out with their CX-5 with a few improvements, you know, marginal improvements for sure. But those improvements, as far as I know, are not here. This is independent of that line. And one of the improvements that's kind of important is the rattle during coasting. They said is gone on that motor. On this motor, you still have that real rattle. You know, it's not as bad as a couple of years ago, but there's still a little bit there, so you won't get that you know, coasting rattle-free performance. I broke every climbing record and every downhill record that I have with this bike right here. So that makes it the best bike. And it put the biggest smile on my face because it's so capable, it's so big and burly without being big and burly. You know, it's big and burly and fast and agile. You know, so there you go, my friends. I hope you it gives you insight onto this bike. We'll have a lot more on this as I compare it to a whole slew of bikes that are coming through. You know, a lot of product releases are happening now because this just became the new benchmark, the new measuring stick, the new Pliny the Elder of e-mountain bikes for me and E-MTB review. Thank you very much.